Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name's Olivia and I'm a gender affirming voice teacher. And this video is number 4 in my Building Blocks of Vocal Feminization series. Go back and watch the first 3 where I talk about preparing your voice for vocal feminization, resonance, and pitch. And in this video, I'm going to talk about intonation. So I'm going to share what intonation is and how to get a better sense of your own intonation and how to listen for it in other voices. I'm also going to give you some exercises to practice. So if you get on the phone with somebody, maybe a close friend or something, you can tell in an instant if something horrible has happened to them or if something great has happened to them, right? You can hear that in their voice, if they're excited or depressed, or, the voice is this window into our emotions. So that element, that emotional element, is really all about intonation. Intonation is the movement of pitch or the speech pattern, the way we're phrasing things that conveys emotion or emphasis in what we're saying. We might also think about how smooth the voice is or how choppy. Maybe it's really short bursts like this versus really smooth like that. So in general, masculine perceived voices tend to be a little bit more flat in pitch, a little bit more monotone, and they tend to emphasize things using volume rather than pitch. Now, feminine perceived voices tend to use pitch to emphasize things, elongate vowels, and use those things to emphasize rather than using volume, although volume could definitely be a part of it. Always take this with a grain of salt because these are generalizations, but they give you some frameworks to go off of. So an example, if I'm just saying, hi, how are you, in a more feminine perceived way versus masculine perceived way, feminine perceived might be something like, hi, how are you? I'm moving my pitch up and down, versus, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? So my pitch kind of stays stagnant, and I'm emphasizing using a little bit more pressure and a little bit more volume. So you might automatically know, okay, I know what my typical intonation style is, or you may not have any clue. So I want to do an exercise just to get you comfortable with recognizing when your pitch is going up and when it's going down. So you can use the Voice Tools app if you want to take a look at this, watch the pitch go up or down, if that's helpful. But the first sentence I want you to say is, will you be there? So we're going to ask it like a question. So, will you be there? Will you be there? So the pitch starts low and glides up high. And then if you're saying, I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there. Will you be there? I'll be there. So you can take a look at your voice tools to make sure that you're moving your pitch in those same ways. But it's important to first have a sense of like, oh, that's what it feels like when my pitch is going up. That's what it feels like when it's going down. So then let's add monotone as an option. So flat or going up or going down. So this first phrase we're going to use is just what's up. So let's do that flat. What's up? What's up? Then let's go up. What's up? What's up? Or going down. What's up? What's up? Then let's try I'm not going. Flat. I'm not going. And I'm a robot. I'm not going. Let's go up. I'm not going. I'm not going. And then going down. I'm not going. I'm not going. Okay, the third sentence we're going to try is I'll have an oat milk latte. Okay? That's a big part of my vocabulary. So let's do that flat. I'll have an oat milk latte. I'll have an oat milk latte. Go up. I'll have an oat milk latte. I'll have an oat milk latte. Going down. I'll have an oat milk latte. I'll have an oat milk latte. So the goal of these exercises is basically just to build your awareness of what your pitch is actually doing. Is it flat? Is it more monotone? Is it going up? Is it going down? And having that feedback with an app or using a hand to show I'm going up or down can be really helpful. So we all kind of use different voices, you know, when we go hang out with friends versus when we're with family or with someone that we've never met before, our voices might sound different. So I want you to channel your inner actor. And we're going to pretend that we're seeing different people and using the same greeting for 3 different people. So I will demonstrate, okay? So we're gonna use the phrase, hi, how are you? So I'm first going to imagine that I'm talking to a dear friend that I haven't seen in a long time. So if I were to say that, I might say something like, hi, how are you? Okay, so there's a few things happening here, right? My pitch went up high. Hi, how are you? My vowel sounds elongated. Hi, hi. And my pitch went up and then down and then up and then down. So for me, when I see an old friend, I'm gonna be, oh my gosh, how are you? Okay. So if I then was talking to somebody at the crack of dawn and I was very grumpy because it was the early morning, it might sound different. You know, somebody that just woke me up out of my slumber and I don't want to be awake. Maybe, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? So there's not a lot of power there. My breath isn't really there. My pitch is flat. I'm even getting a little vocal fry in there. And there's just not a lot of energy. I just don't care, okay? Because I just woke up. And then the last one you can try is, you see an acquaintance on the street, but you're in a rush. So what might that sound like? Like, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? I gotta go. So that one for me, didn't have a ton of movement. Hi, how are ya? Gotta go. But it was a little bit higher, a little quiet, but I gotta move on. So you can kind of play around with these and notice what is it like in my voice when I'm talking to these different people. And you can also notice in your day-to-day life when you sign on to play a game with your friends, or you go to the grocery store, you see your family. What is the difference in your vocal quality? So another great way to work on inflection is just to listen to voices, see what you notice. You can repeat back or try to imitate these voices if you want to try that too. So we're going to listen to 3 different voices and just kind of talk about what kind of is different about their inflection styles. So the first one is Kristen Chenoweth, who is a Broadway actress, and this is just an interview of her.
Out there, you're dating. Someone told me that you're kind of a cheap date. Is that true? Are you a cheap
I
date?
love chains, and you know this about me. We've talked about it. I love Olive Garden and Chili's and Applebee's. I love Outback Steakhouse. The Bloomin' Onion is not to be believed.
Are you getting money for this?
No. No, I wish. But my all-time favorite is Sonic. Have y'all heard of it?
Sonic, yeah.
Now they have, they're the kings and queens. I actually don't know if they're kings and queens, but they put the on tater tots, and now they have a new sweet
You're
potato.
getting money for this.
So Kristen Chenoweth is obviously known for her voice. She's a Broadway superstar. But her voice is obviously very bright in resonance, and she's got a higher pitched voice. But in terms of her inflection, she's really kind of bouncy. There's a lot of movement in the pitch. She's very excited about these chain restaurants. But there's a lot of that movement, and in combination with this bright sound and this higher pitch, we're getting this kind of very distinct sound quality. The next person we're going to listen to is Janet Mock. She is a trans rights activist. She's an author. I think she's a producer and writer. So let's check her out.
I think mine would be centered around self-worth and value. It sounds very like Iyanla Fix My Life or Oprah Live Your Best Life. But it really is. And I think that it's really about being stingy with your time and with your body and with your talents. That not everyone is deserving of you, of your body, of your story, of your time. And so I wish that someone would have told me, girl, you are everything. You may not know it yet, right? But you don't need to spend time trying to chase him.
Okay, so obviously a very different voice from Kristen Chenoweth's voice, but the thing that strikes me is that her voice is she's speaking at a very different pace than Kristen. It's a lot slower. It feels more intentional to me. It's a little bit lower in pitch, but definitely not less feminine. It sounds very feminine. And there's a little bit less movement in pitch, but I would say her vowel sounds are very much elongated as well. And lastly, we're going to listen to India Ari, who is a singer, and I love her singing voice, so let's listen to her speaking voice.
My life fell apart, and the first thing I did was go into nature. And so Henry David Thoreau, poet and philosopher, said it perfectly. He says, heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. And so I went into nature and I listened. And first, I began by writing my whole life story out to myself. It took me about 2 weeks.
So India's voice is a beautiful speaking voice. So it's a little bit darker, a little bit richer in maybe vocal weight and in resonance as well. That's what I've always loved about her singing voice as well. She's kind of varying her pace, I would say here. But it just kind of goes to show that all of these voices are very different, but they all sound distinctly feminine. So it's important to recognize that there's not one way to get a feminine perceived voice, that all of these voices sound very feminine but are super unique. So I hope that you kind of recognize that all of these voices are very feminine perceived but all very different. So throughout this process you are working toward finding your voice, and that's not going to sound like anybody else's voice. You're finding what feels right to you, what's authentic to you. So check out some other voices and see what you think about these different inflection styles. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful and that you continue to kind of investigate what you think about intonation and all the things that we've talked about so far. I hope you'll stick around for the last video in my Building Blocks of Vocal Feminization series, which is all about how to layer the different practice techniques. If you're interested in a one-on-one consultation or in group classes, or if you want to learn more in my blog, don't forget to click the link to my website in the description. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.